Oh, yeah. It's the Iron Bowl, and it's the week of Alabama and Auburn. Should we need to say anything more? We got Stephen M. Smith, touchdown Alabama. And In My Own Words is his show that he provides for us each and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Get here right here on YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Stephen M. and In My Own Words, 6:30 Central. Stephen, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic, man. We got the Iron Bowl on Saturday. One of the biggest rivalry games of college football. More may argue Ohio State, Michigan, the best one, but Alabama, Auburn, right up there when you talk about what this game means for so many people in the state, so many people in the South, recruiting prowess, all of those things. Coach Saban, 11-5. All time as Alabama's head coach against Auburn, but he's 4-4 all time going to Jordan-Hare. So that particular environment has given Saban some problems in the past, including 2013, 2019, and 2013, 2017. In 2019, where Alabama was in play for an SEC championship, but got toppled by Auburn and could not compete, for an SEC title. So Jordan-Hare has been kind of a thorn in Saban's side at times, and he understands that I'm going back there again for the 9th time in my coaching tenure here at Alabama. So the execution needs to be done.
I guess the wisdom of Paul Bear Bryant certainly shows us something there, because he refused to go on the plains and play a game. So he knew something.
He did. I mean, it's a tough environment, Mark. I mean, I was there twice. I was there 2019, where Mac Jones had the 2 pick sixes, but threw for 4 touchdowns, did everything he could to put that team in position to win. Unfortunately, I was on the field where Joseph Belovis missed a 48-yard field goal, conked it off the right upright, and you lose 48-45. The people stormed the field, and I almost got trampled on. And then I remember, 2021, a few years later, I'm there again. It's Bryce Young this time, and on a final drive on a late drive in the 4th quarter, you tie the game at 10, and the game goes into 4 overtimes before you win 24-22. So it's a crazy environment to play in.
Hey, Stephen, you kind of set it up where this rivalry hits home on 2 different levels. One would be, the 2 buddies at the factory or the office, or the aunts and the uncles, the cousins and the bragging rights and all of that. But then you also have the impact that this has off the field in regards to recruiting, and kind of shape that up for us in regards to what this 23 matchup means.
It's huge because Hugh Freeze back in the SEC after 4 years at Liberty, 2019 to 2022, and we saw the success that Freeze had at Ole Miss. Whether you look at it as him cheating or him not cheating, he had success there at Ole Miss. That's the proof in the pudding right there. So he comes back to the SEC, goes to Auburn. And the Auburn fan base was extremely excited when the hire was made, somebody to replace Brian Harsin. And if you look at it, the talent bed of recruiting has returned to the state of Alabama. 4 and 5 stars everywhere in the state now, and not just the 7A high schools, but the 6A and the 5A high schools as well. And Hugh Freeze knows, even though we haven't had the season we would like to have it started off, we got to also understand that Brian Harsin didn't leave Hugh Freeze much to work with. So Hugh knows, hey, if we can find a way to topple Nick Saban in Alabama in the regular season at 7-5, we can at least go to recruits and say, hey, we finished 7-5. We beat our in-state rival. If we can add you for the years to come, we can have something very special here. So Hugh knows this state for 2024, 2025, 2026, and probably more classes to come, Alabama is going to be a hotbed in terms of recruiting talent. And several of these guys will be in Jordan-Hare for the Iron Bowl, including, I believe, 1 5-star wide receiver, Ryan Williams from Saraland High School in the South Alabama near Mobile area. So Hugh knows if we can get this one, this is big to show recruits.
Stephen, when you see New Mexico State 31 and Auburn 10, that was a score that even with Auburn's issues this year, losing 5 games and being out of the SEC race for quite some time, we know that this is not vintage Auburn and that Hugh Freeze has a lot of work to do there. But still, as a 25-point favorite, when that score went out across the nation, that was the shocker of the weekend. It seems unlikely that they're going to be able to pull themselves together to play an Alabama team that is much better, more talented, and has a lot to play for. But again, it's the Iron Bowl, and they are at home.
I mean, Mark, it was a complete shock when you talk about, Auburn paying New Mexico State. I think it was $1.85 million, and they go down to Jordan Hare and you beat Auburn, and then you take the $1.85 million. So it is crazy what happened in that matchup. But you mentioned it is the Iron Bowl. You throw the records out the window. Coach Saban talked about it. Like, this is a game that means so much to so many people. A lot of athletes, when they leave the University of Alabama, one of the first questions Crimson Tide fans will ask these young men, what was your record against Auburn? It carries that much weight. And you talk about, you're going to this matchup. Hugh Freeze is going to have these young guys set to play. There were several Alabama players I spoke with, and I'm like, well, they lost to New Mexico State, and then these same former players go, well, Stephen, Auburn's going to play like the 2008 Patriots when they face Alabama, or they're going to play like the 1972 Miami Dolphins when they face Alabama. It's something about that Iron Bowl. Auburn can be 0-11, but then let Alabama roll around. They find a way to know how to play football at that moment and at that given time. There's been so many moments in years past where, Auburn comes in not expected to win, shouldn't win, and they find a way, to win, whether it's at Jordan Hare or whether it's at Tuscaloosa. So Saban knows it. The players of this team, they know it. So they're locked in for it.
And it's an Auburn team that has had all sorts of issues trying to throw the ball downfield, whether that be from an efficiency standpoint or certainly an explosive standpoint. Peyton Thorne did go 15 of 19 against New Mexico State, but again, little out of the passing game in regards to big chunk plays. Jarquez Hunter's one of the best backs in the SEC, but he needs some help. He only had 8 carries in that game. So I got to think a huge key is that Auburn can't get behind in this game. They cannot get into any kind of shootout or try to play catch up with their limitations. And as long as Bama gets off to a strong start and controls the game, that they should be in good shape.
Right. I think the biggest thing for Alabama is going to be you can't have the self-inflicted mistakes, especially on the road with that crowd. The crowd at Jordan Hare, they just want anything to hang their hat on, anything to be hopeful about, anything to be excited about. So if you're Alabama, you can't have the penalties. You can't get behind the down and distance, especially first and second down. You can't have the pre-snap issues. And then most importantly, on special teams, you can't have the mistakes in terms of securing the ball, especially on punt return. Kool-Aid McKinstry has had some issues this season with muffed punts. You cannot have muffed punts in this game because momentum is a valuable thing. And Hugh Freeze knows if I can grab some momentum and get my guys believing that, and this crowd believing we can take care of Alabama, we can beat Alabama, and we can use this for recruiting, then Hugh is going to use that. So if you're Alabama, you can't afford the muffed punts. You can't afford the mental errors, the miscues. You got to play as much of a clean game as possible, a strong start, but even more so than that, a clean game.
Stephen, it's the Iron Bowl, so I got to ask you 1 or 2 players that a national audience needs to look out for.
1 or 2, and these are all guys that are from the state of Alabama, so they know how big this game is. Number 1, Tim Keenan from Birmingham on that defensive line, nose tackle, has had a phenomenal season, dropped 28 pounds. He's now playing at 315, the healthiest he's ever been. He has turned it on this entire season, especially as of late. He was one that Auburn recruited heavy in that 2021 class, if I'm not mistaken. So here's Tim Keenan with a chance to show himself in this game. And another guy offensively, Roydell Williams, Big game from him, from Hueytown, Alabama. Another guy in that 2020 class that, Auburn recruited hard, but he chose to come to the University of Alabama. Roydell's been playing his best ball as of late as well. And an intriguing name is Malachi Moore. Kevin Steele, who's Alabama's defensive coordinator now, was Auburn's DC in 2020, and Kevin Steele was hardly recruiting Malachi to come to Auburn. Malachi ends up going to Alabama, so look at how this is aligned. Now Kevin Steele back at Alabama for his third stint coaching Malachi Moore. So Malachi's a third name, and remember him. His freshman year, 2020, when they played Auburn in Tuscaloosa, he had a crucial interception off of Bo Nix. So, those three guys, Malachi Moore, Tim Keenan, and also Roydell Williams, three Alabama natives that this game means a lot to those guys.
In my own words, folks, it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, 6:30 Central. You can find Stephen M. Smith right there. Touchdown Alabama as well. It's the Iron Bowl, and it's time to lock in at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central on Saturday. Stephen, happy Thanksgiving. We always appreciate you being here.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, my man. It's going to be a fun time down there on the plains. So the last two times I was there, I was holding on for dear life. One in a loss, one in an incredible win. So we'll see what happens this time around.